We're gonna just go for it. We're just gonna go for it. I'm gonna.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm presenting Darlene.
Thank you for those that were patient enough to stay, and this is gonna be an experiment anyway for me, because I don't know how to do all this stuff. So I appreciate all the questions and answers you have. We're gonna do it as we go along. I'm gonna show a slide, which is up here. Oh, got it, okay, which is up here, and it's gonna then if you have questions, you can just interrupt me. But I want to tell you that this is probably gonna sound like an ad for Sierra College, because I took all my classes at Sierra College, and I started out probably 40 years ago, taking a class after work each night. And I started in clay, and so I have a lot of clay things, and then eventually I went into drawing and the painting and wood. I took metal shop, bronze. I mean, they're just, finally they kicked me out because I just had too many things going on. So anyway, but my whole art career has just been a career change. Every time I take a new class, I'd have a new art to talk about. So anyway, this is not the way it's supposed to work, so you guys are gonna have to be patient. We'll just figure it out here. See the slideshow. I'm not sure how to do this. Shoot, I get it pointed
Is
around.
that the one that you want?
Yeah, I want it to go to the next one.
See what happens if we do that.
Oh, there it is.
Enter.
No, that's too far down. I went the
Okay.
wrong way. Shoot.
We all know that art is our first thing and technology comes later.
Well, anyway, this whole program is just not the way I knew it. I got here at 8:30 or 9:30 this morning so we could work out the details, but obviously it didn't happen. Okay, it went back, I guess. The journey has unfolded for me so far. Anyway, the materials are, I've discovered how to use different materials, and then I asked myself over and over again what I could do to make it work differently. And I eventually this is the very last slide, so it's about to go back to where it was. Oh, shoot. This is what you call a disaster. This is the first, I did clay, so this shows you that some of my, did that wreck it? This is one of my clay pieces. I took a sculpture class. Can you see it at all? Is that working?
It's working on Zoom.
Oh, is it? Can you see what's going on?
Yep.
Okay, well, anyway, it looks better in the photograph, but just so you know that maybe I can get it up a little bit more. Anyway, this is my clay. I started doing clay in the very beginning, and that's very addictive, and it's really hard to get away from it once you start. And so I eventually took so many classes that they wouldn't let me go back into the clay class. So I started drawing, and then and I eventually took as much of that as I could, and then I went to clay. I mean to painting, oil painting. And then when I got into oil painting, they said, and that's how I met Diane in oil painting, our art classes. And I decided that the teacher told me that I should be doing acrylics because I paint too fast. And so that's what I'm using right now. And I do paint too fast. So anyway, this is another one of my sculptures. You can kind of, these are really terrible photographs. Tell me if it gets better for you guys.
Yeah, that's better.
Like that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so then after I did this is one of the acrylics that I painted that I used oil, alcohol inks on afterwards. But this is called, the aquarium. So it was just, that was a more recent painting that I've done. But I started out eventually taking a class from Nick Sheldon at Sierra College. And we carved on PVC. This is a piece of plastic. Carved on PVC. I don't know if it's maybe it's- so anyway, this doesn't really show the whole picture, but you get the idea that when you carve on it, and I carved on both sides. So you'll see that anyway, so then you print these, and then when I print them, this is a finished print. And when I get done printing them, I said, well, I've got 50 prints of this. What am I going to do with them? So then I started trying them up to make collages. So eventually I took those images and made them into a collage. Sorry, I'm not being recorded very well. So this is, maybe that's all right. That's a good way to do it. So this was a sample here of how you can do it with wood carving tools. And you can make huge paintings this way because this sheet of plastic comes from Taps Plastic. And it comes in, I think it's about a 10 by 4 piece. Anyway, this is an unfinished collage, but I would tear them up and put them in collages and then thank you for your help. This is a fiasco. Anyway, so that's where I started with. Oh, so this particular one you see here now is a block print for this one that I showed. Oh, there you go.
Can we turn the lights?
I turned them down because of reflection off of it.
So this is the image on copper. I started doing copper after a while because it was, what am I gonna do with all these images? And I need to just have a thousand of them framed. So this one is one of the ones that original ones that I just used it for. It's the black print, and then I watercolor them, and then so you can do all kinds of things with the ones you haven't printed. Anyway, I got a disaster.
So, Darlene, did you use on that board as a regular foam board?
It's plastic that I get from the PVC. It's called Centra, and I get it at Capital Plastic, and it comes in a 10 foot by 4 foot. Maybe it's even wider than that, 10 by 4. And
Can we touch it?
sure, yeah, well, that's a good idea.
And when you transfer this onto that, is that copper?
Yeah, this is copper, right? So, and so after I took on all these shots, after I had, so this is where I had one of the images, the black and white image. Oh, you can't see it. Anyway, this is my black and white image, and then I tore it up and put it on a board.
Then you just use ink?
It's printers, like black print.
I didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, so then when I had, my husband is really sweet. We go to the recycle store and get doors, and he cuts them up for me, and then I paint on them, so it works out. So we get a pretty solid looking door like this.
That's a door that you painted on?
Yeah, it's part of the door.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
Just-
Okay, and it's just, so you're recycled and then you do the surface on top of it. That's cool.
but you have to someone who can do them.
You need some woodworking skills or somebody who, some
Yeah,
muscles on the
yeah,
side.
yeah. So anyway, that's kind of, he's back there in the back. Thank you for giving him a little credit. Anyway,
So with the inks, it doesn't run on copper, that's no problem.
I'm sorry.
The inks, when you.
No,
print
it's,
out,
it stays on there and it hasn't changed. So this is a pretty, I've had this one for quite a while. And this copper hasn't changed and this hasn't changed. It's this one pretty much the same. But the next, anyway, on the back of that one that's being handed around, I have an egret in it and I tore it up and put an egret in this. Does it show it now? Well, shoot. Oh, I see what's going on. So that shows the egret that's on. Gives you an idea of what you can do with it, and then so it's not the whole image, but then this is the wing of the egret. So I just used the wing on that block print, so it looks like a fern, and I watercolored it. So this is all kind of a transitional thing. And then I took a monoprint class. So I used, and that's a 3-dimensional shape. So most of the work I do is all textures. I love textures. And so that's kind of an imaging. And then I went into bronze class. And this is one of my bronze pieces. And this is all Sierra College, like I said. And so we really had fun doing that. And then this is kind of where I actually took a PowerPoint class too, but it was like 5 years ago. And by the time I needed to do a PowerPoint again, I forgot how to do it. So this is how I stained the copper. I went to Blue Collar Supply in Sacramento, and it's a recycle store for metals and all kinds of screws and bolts. And I had been asked to do a ribbon for a breast cancer cause, and I thought, oh, I saw something on their wall, a piece of copper on their wall, and I said, oh, I could probably do something with that, because at this bronze class I take, and they talked about how you could just use salt and vinegar or ammonia to stain your copper. So I thought, well, I could probably do something with that. So this is the copper that I laid out in my backyard in the sun, and I sprayed it with salt and vinegar. I wish we had a better, for you folks at home, I really feel bad. Anyway, so that was how I started doing the copper, and then I started cutting them up into pieces. That made it a little interesting for what I wanted to do. And then this is part of my first project in copper was this ribbon. And
How big is that?
well, this picture is, it's in a rotunda at the City Hall, Roseville, at the Civic Center, I should say. I'm lucky that they liked it enough to buy it it was donated to the breast cancer. So anyway, I went into copper because of that. So this was the beginning of what I did because of that, because of the breast cancer thing. I would never have done it probably, but all these other classes kind of added to my skills. So, and here is, I'm showing you this particular one. Gee, that's a terrible image. Anyway, this particular one is this one here. And I went to an art tour in Sonoma County, and I started talking to a metal artist about how I was using copper. I was so excited. And he said, oh, I've got I have a big roll of crunched up recycled copper. And he just handed it to me and said, here, see what you can do with this. And I always think that artists are so generous with their information and time. So it was a big, huge piece. And so I cut it up and I laid down a foundation underneath it with a ball, whatever that wall spackle is, so that it wouldn't crease where the big dents were in when I did it. So we had to make a base that supported what was under there. And then I sprayed it with salt and vinegar. And I sprayed it about 7 times. So anyway, I thought, I just never can, it comes back to for you, whatever you do, it always comes back around. So hopefully maybe you guys get something out of this too. So this This one is just what I actually have cut it up into squares and I use gold. I got some first from ceramics. They have a gold powder that you can use. So I took a bunch of these squares and used the panel anyway, and then I used the gold on it to make it a little more interesting. So then I started using the wallboard spackle for my frame around them. So I started making textured frames around the art. And then I put the pieces of copper in after I had that established. So then,
So I have a question on that one.
Mhm.
Is that on a board that's all the way under your piece, or is it just a frame?
oh, it's a door. So all these
It's a
things are,
board, all the way under.
well, how board are actually, I made a mistake. I got some solid doors in the room. So don't do that.
How do you cut the copper?
I actually just haven't had a lot, there's different thicknesses, but I have a heavy duty old fashioned paper cutter. You know, it's one of those big square, and I just whack it like that. But you can also use a ruler and an X-Acto knife and just keep going back and forth to get that. But the old paper cutter, the old fashioned one really works. I think my husband found it for $5 in a garage sale. And so, and it's really sturdy.
So, although the copper you're using here is quite thin.
Well, it could be. I've tried all different, the one that we started out with, like this one, I'm gonna say it was probably 5 millimeters or whatever it is. I did think I did write it down, and that's probably the best is having 5 gauge. And I get it online. I said, oh, Blue Collar Supply went out of business. So, and I told everybody about every artist every time they go, oh, where do you get this copper? And I, well, go to Blue Collar Supply and I think I got the last piece of it there. And he said, you can't believe how fast this stuff is going out of here. So my husband had like, must have been stacks and stacks of this copper. But I told too many people, I guess, with it was all gone.
So it is really like here, you got all the texture going. So did you actually come to that by hand or?
Oh, this is the one that man gave me. That was all crunched.
Oh, that was already crunched.
Yeah, and I think it must have been on an old piece of office equipment where they had it.
Oh.
I'm not sure, but some office equipment.
Um,
But it was kind of interesting when I got it.
Very much, yeah. Really.
But I really like the way the copper made it work. So anyway, then this is my first, well, shoot, it doesn't show it at all. Very good. Anyway, I was in a show that Blue Line put on in Del Paso Heights, and this was my first opportunity to show it. And I started using gold leaf to go with it, to the gold. So these are all little squares that I cut up. And I can't show you that because it's gone, but anyway, and then I use a combination of the leaf and foil. So just, you can kind of keep going on. Here's a piece of copper that I call the 2 faces. And I didn't do anything to it except do it to paint to a board and one of my husband's great boards, and kind of you just never know what these images are going to be like. So, and this is the one, whoops, wait a minute. Oh, it's right there. I have one on the floor that shows you, this is the one that is on the floor. Just to give you an idea what they really look like. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, the pictures don't do it justice.
Sorry, could you turn on the lights, please?
Yeah. Oh, that's really. No, it was better before.
That's all right. First, I do have that. Oh, this is all right. Thank you. That's what it is.
Oh, well, you know what? And this way, and he this way too.
Anybody probably, yeah.
So then everybody was, oh, this is a piece of copper that, that turned out, I used ammonia on this one. You can use just the ammonia fumes. And I think that one turned out really, you can probably see it. But anyway, just ammonia fumes and it created this. I wish I could reproduce that because it's just, I had such fun with that one. And I, every time you use any of this stuff, you never know how it's going to turn out. You just have to keep your fingers crossed. But you can't make a mistake. You
Sorry,
just-
are you wearing a gas mask? Are you using ammonia fuel?
I do it all outside, and so I have, but I cover it with a piece of plastic, and I have the artwork leaning up against the garden wall, and then I put the fumes in a bucket underneath it, and it just sort of soaks up there. But you don't want to have to do the fumes, right? It's pretty bad. But this is just household ammonia, so we probably use it a lot, These are all things that we all have around our house, most of us anyway. And when this is a sample, well, we're going to show here. This is what that one that's been passed around looks like. Sorry for you folks at home, but you're not getting a very good show of all this. And so I also decided that I didn't really have to just do it on print paper. So I started using, this is our candy, I got candy leaf foils and from Michael's and glued them all down on the board and printed on that. And that got in the show in Marin just because it was something unusual, I guess. I probably could use it for that business. And then this is the one you see. This is the one that is here. And we've already talked about how I use the print. And this is a photograph of the one that the artist gave me the copper for those folks at home. Whoops, come on back. So that shows that I use that same block print again there. And then I started using, I decided I could do a triptych. So this is called Earth, Wind, and Sea. And I have copper wire in there. So that's got gold leaf and copper. And I have it has squares of really heavily patinaed, heavily patinaed with the more you spray it, the brighter the green comes, or the turquoise. So, and then this is what my garden looks like when I'm spraying stuff. So you have an idea. I'm outside, and I put when I'm trying to get some different shapes on the copper, I'll lay down some mats, like a piece of fern or some crunched up paper. And I actually have could you hold those two things right there? They actually have some rusted metal that I used for to make these kinds of shapes. This is just rusted figures that I got from that recycle store too. That this is it going to show? Oh,
Yeah, there we go.
but these are actually, this is a piece of old sheet that I rusted the metal. I sprayed vinegar on it and it rusted onto the sheet, and then I used encaustic. So now I'm into encaustics again, and I'm changing it again. So that's what that one is over there, the light. But anyway, so then after I've spent like a week out in the sun trying to get this stuff to spray, and this is when you can't really see it, but it has a fern image in it, and I had used a lot of the blocks that I used, like I think I lost this one. This is one that shows it had a lot of shapes of things that I sprayed after I laid it out in the sun. I put these ferns and sprayed on top of it. So anyway, just to give you an idea. And then now I started using copper. I'm going to glue it to the board just to show you. This is a sample. And I'm still getting ready to glue it. And then this is
The leaf that you go in now?
no, these are pieces of copper.
Copper.
Yeah, so I cut them, in this case, they were pretty thin and I could cut them with a real heavy, like a metal shears. So I cut them with metal shears and then glued it down. So this is the finished product. It's, for those at home, it's red, not yellow, not, anyway. Then the next one, this one is a copper piece, but I used a bunch of bark from a tree around the edges of it. And then I used encaustic to make the bark stay there. So encaustic, you'll probably all know that, but it's beeswax and resin from a tree, so that it's probably one of the oldest forms of art. Like Rembrandt probably used it. And this is a block print that I did at That's a show from Fred Condos, and I have no idea how that happened. It was kind of, I asked if he had his glasses on when he did the jury. So, and so that's the block print that I reproduced in encaustic now. So I printed it, and then I tore it up and put it in on a board and painted around it with beeswax. Caustic. So you could see that I've had a lot of transition here. And this one is, I took a bunch of wall spackle and I laid it down on one of these boards, and then I took a little screen and laid it down on top of it to make shapes. And then when it dried enough, I took it off, and then I sprayed it with, it really doesn't show up very well here, but alcohol inks. And it really turned out kind of surprisingly nice. A lot of texture you can see through it. And anyway, it's all just alcohol inks.
And the texture you're using, you say you're just using typical spackle,
Wall spackle, right?
or did you get the hardware store?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I spray it on there, and, and we have to, because I had play experience, each of these things leads to the next, because I had play experience, I knew how we used to make clay have shapes and things in it. So it's kind of I think I'm just an inventor, I'm not sure. But this was, I call this one the Paris view from the river. And I actually did this one after I'd been to Paris, and we're going down the river in the nighttime on a boat. And I came home, and that was such a strong image in my brain that I created this one. So life is an experiment. And this one is all encaustic with these little squares of copper in it, but to me it looks like abalone shell. I just kept spraying it with alcohol inks and making layers of oil, like you use, because you have to use oil to paint with encaustic. So it has to be, I think apparently acrylic is it curdles when you put it with wax. I've absolutely done that. Kind of lumps up, so it does something weird. And so, this is that one that I said I wish I could, the alcoholic, this is the finished product when I put a frame around it. And anyway, and this one, this is one I did, I ordered my copper. Now I order it online, and I didn't know what gauge, I'm really bad with numbers anymore, but didn't know what gauge I was, and I was just testing it. This is like paper thin oil, paper thin copper, and so you could just kind of with a pair of household scissors. And I thought, that is really cool the way it looks, but it changed, like with the patina on it went away almost immediately. It's terrible. So if you decide to do anything like this, I just have to show you mistakes. This is one of my mistakes. So the person that bought it was very generous, and she said, take this and see what you can do with it. Well, it's still hanging in my studio, and I haven't been able to do anything lovely with it. But
It's beautiful.
She didn't ask for a refund. So that was nice. So anyway, this is my material journey, as I said in the very beginning. I was hoping that some of the image reproductions would have been better reproduced from those folks at home. But anyway, that's the best I could do. Come and look at this individually if you'd like it. It's a little better. And so does anybody have questions I'd like to answer? Yes.
When you finish with the piece, do you use a varnish to seal it or sealer?
I use just, yes, I do. I'm trying to think what it's called. Spray the varnish that we get, I just use a spray varnish that is okay for metal. But I haven't done all of them, but some of them I have.
So the copper will maintain its color.
Yeah, well,
It
but
will
I
not-
looked at the one that, the Civic Center one that's still in, and it's been there 10 years. And it's changing a little bit. I think copper's kind of an organic thing, but I think it looks better now than it did when it started. So it's still a nice bright, copper just a little. And that one I really heavily sprayed because I got special copper spray for that one because I knew it was going to be around for a while. Anyway, that was.
So what is your favorite gauge or how thick you like
I
to
think,
work with
I
most?
think it was 5 millimeters. I think that's what I used. I wrote it down here. Yeah.
Can I turn on the lights?
Sure, please, so you can see it. Any questions? Anyway, if anybody wants to come and look at the slideshow separately, it's a little better on the computer. 5 millimeters or whatever that is called. And so I have a little sample here. You go online, they actually tell you that you can use it, how you can use it.
So the very thin one, you like to work with that as well?
No, I won't use it
Too
again.
thin.
Yeah, it's too thin, right. And I think if they're too thin, they're hard to glue down. So like that, they get a lot of lumps and bumps in them. So it's better to get something that's a little thicker, like the 5, whatever I just said.
Now you use it as an adhesive to attach the copper. What do you use?
2-part epoxy. Or
Epoxy.
also I got that K8 stuff that comes in the tube. K8, is that right? It comes, but the jewelry makers use it, I think, a lot. So.
Good adhesive.
Yeah,
Make it
everybody has, if you want any subject, you can contact me. I know what I wanted to talk about. I'm part of the art studio truck, which is art and chocolate, and I'm raised with one of us, and Diane is another one. But anyway, I have brochures in the back that we just got out, and our show will be the last weekend in April, like the whole weekend in April. And you can come and see this stuff in person. It's some nice. Artstudios.com. For those things. Anyway, any questions, anybody? The PVC or the plastic I got from Taps Plastic. And don't cut it as much as you want, but they charge you every time you cut it. It comes on a big sheet. And but they sell scraps, pieces, small pieces. Yes.
So on the plastic, you use like woodworking tools?
Right.
I didn't know if it was that or if they were heated.
No, yeah, they're just plain old needles or what I use.
And does it come black or does it come white?
It's white.
It is white,
Yeah.
okay, and then the black is
Just
That's your-
residue for my.
from your
block
page or the printing,
Yeah.
the printing. Printing on it.
Yeah, I actually didn't have a printer when I have a press now, but I actually didn't have a press in the very beginning, and I used to lay down the piece of plastic mat, the board, and then I put a piece of paper on top of it after I inked it, and then I would dance on it so I could transfer the ink to it. So, but someone retired and gave me their press, so I do have a press now. I don't use it, and then of course, then I got it, I stopped doing it. So, anybody want to use an old press? And Diane has a great press, she's pretty generous about being very sweet. Anyway, anybody else have any more questions?
When you recycle your, the ones you print, you said you would tear them up or cut them up to do your collage.
Yeah.
Or what's your favorite medium over top of it to seal?
That's what I use is net medium for my glue.
Oh,
People do use Elmer's glue, watered down, but I don't think that's archival as
archive.
yeah, not medium.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, and it looks, and I actually weigh it down with, I'll put a piece of PVC over the top of it when I glue them down, and then I'll weight it down so that the wrinkles don't come in. And because they do shrink and get weird, so that's the best way to do it. And I think I really like the way, the texture on it. Like I have some homemade paper,
Texture's wonderful.
this homemade paper in here, and it's got a block print that I've used and, you know, some old art that I just tore up and put in it. Some, and this is a piece of. Oh,
There we go.
oh, I see you. Oh, that's good. You got it. So you can- Sure, sure.
I'll show you somewhere.
She was
That's-
fine.
Look how much better. That looks so much better than just sending it.
Is this one that,
Oh, this is just a plain block print that I've used that I watercolored, and that's one of my very first ones that I took in the copy of that class.
Thank you, Linda.
She's a good girl. I need to keep her.
so it's block print and then watercolor?
Watercolors, right. And then if you use oil-based ink for your block print, then the watercolor just, you don't have to worry where the lines are, just goes, it just stick to the oil base. So it's kind of, I'm a really fast painter, as I told you. Anyway, so I hope this will encourage you to come around to the studios and you can look at that in person. I mean, mostly I have copper in my house right now. And this piece of, that's a print again of that wax I talked about. Just a piece of my artwork on the top of it with copper on either side, but that's encaustic on the bottom part of it that's been textured. And that's going to go in the blue line. I think it's in the blue. Sometimes you can have encaustic show it.
I bet your workshop area is its own art piece. I can only imagine.
I mean, I've done some really big pieces and sometimes the walls get crazy.
I think it's all the stuff you've done.
Yeah, but I do have, it's funny because I used to work in a dental office, I have this spot for the wax, this spot for my oil, this spot for my acrylic. So I have it all segregated, it's not just, you know, I do. So if you want to ask me, I can pull it out really quickly. But thank you for asking.
The, when you do encaustic, it's a couple easily, the encaustic.
It doesn't,
Is there resistance?
I don't do encaustic on top of the top.
It wouldn't work.
No, it wouldn't stay.
Well, I have done
Yeah.
that.
I suppose if you rough it up, but this one I just have the copper on the corners. There's two pieces that's not broken. Yeah, and then the bottom part is. But that's sort of what that one that I said, my very first one that I did with textured screen. That's kind of the screen, except this one turned out darker. I kind of like it lighter. Oh, my rusted metal and wax. These are kind of friendly.
Shining up.
Yeah.
Oh, shining up on it.
Anyway, I wish I had some of the other copper. I really sold out almost all my encaustics gone, and I really thought I was not very good at it. But people must like learn this. But mostly I put something on it, like I said, that one that had a bunch of bark around the side of it. One lady bought 3 pieces of that kind of. I was stunned, and you never sell 3 pieces in a group show.
But the three pieces I had, the one lady bought all of them. I think she just likes words. That's what I do. Anyway, I'm sorry for the big screw up with all the, we tried. We tried. Anyway, I have a, and I'm gonna learn how to do PowerPoint better. And I don't understand.